We're back. We're here with Jamie Outland Brown. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Okay. She is a candidate for the Chelmsford School Committee. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we know that this is your first run for school committee, so just give the general audience some background about who you are, where you came from, just some general background about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was born in Arizona, but my mom liked to move around a lot, so anytime anyone ever asks me, where are you from, I was like, well, pretty much everywhere. Did settle down finally in Baltimore, graduated from Baltimore High School, and after about 2 years, decided to join the Army. I am a retired Master Sergeant in the United States Army. I was a military police officer during my time there. After my retirement in 2013, I decided to become a stay-at-home mom. I always tell people I finished one career and I started my next career as a stay-at-home mom. I have 3 beautiful children who are 8, 4, and 2. Everyone had birthdays last month, so
nice.
We're all upgraded.
Oh my goodness.
And I help support my husband, who's been in the Army 21 and a half years. So he's currently a military and science instructor with MIT. And now we're here in Chelmsford, making a home, making a life.
Well, thank you for choosing Chelmsford as your destination place.
My pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about what's inspired you to run for school committee and what's brought you to this point.
What's inspired me? My children inspired me. We picked Chelmsford. Uncle Sam said, you're moving to Massachusetts. So we decided where in Massachusetts we were going to move. And, we looked at a lot of criteria, but some of the primary ones were school systems, property values, and crime rates. As a military police officer, obviously, I'm going to look into security. And after all that said and done, we selected Chelmsford. And really it was because we do have school-age children, and we plan on making this our home. We bought a house. We're going to stay here. I don't want to have to move the kids anymore. My husband's getting ready to retire. This is where we want to plant our roots. So this is why we chose Chelmsford. Being here, be 2 years in September. I've seen a lot of things occur inside the school system as a parent. I'm firsthand experiencing a lot of these things. Some of them have been great, and I've seen a lot of great reports about what the schools are doing. Some of them, not so much. And I kind of find it a bit distressing. And after watching and observing the school committee working, it's not really portraying all the traits I envisioned and read about when I was doing my research to move here to Chelmsford. So I just feel I have a lot that I could offer with my military experience, my extensive leadership experience, to be able to better enhance the school committee to make it more effective and to definitely become a true advocate for our children. I mean, the school committee's focus is the education of our children, and that education system and the education of our children benefits all. So having one in there that can do leadership as well as listen to the community, listen to the parents, listen to the teachers, listen to the children. I mean, at high school level, children can advocate for themselves. So I think all that's important, and I think I can be able to be a good asset with my characteristics.
What do you think? I mean, obviously there's been, issues that have come up in the past several months. They've been very public. Are those issues still out there that need to be addressed and resolved, or do you think that there's new issues that are yet to be brought to the forefront?
I think there will always be issues. Whether, everyone thinks the grass is always greener on the other side. No matter how perfect one may think, someone's always going to find something wrong. Do I think there's areas for improvement? Always. Just like Emily stated, you can't be perfect, but you can strive for perfection. And in my thoughts, we may be where we are rated across the town in one of the better rated districts, but we're not number one. Could we be number one? It's possible. I mean, we may not get the percentages for diversification or English language learners, but when it comes to grades and test scores, we could definitely achieve the number one spot. And I think until we get to that level, we can always move forward, always progress forward. Staying stagnant for me is not acceptable.
Well, one of the things I see is I feel like the Chelmsford public school system is underfunded. Part of that is because I feel like from Chapter 70, we don't receive as much state aid as some of the other communities. I think that's somewhat put a strain on our school system. So one of the things that I've seen is, basic, teacher and student safety. They've talked about, maybe more aides in the classroom. There are issues that have come up that, some of it may be funding, some of it may be coming up with alternative solutions. Are there things that you want to try to do when you're on the school committee to try to alleviate some of those, issues that seem to be plaguing us as a community?
Yes. It's funny, I've taken on this task. A lot of people have told me, well, you can't change that. You can't change that. Well, I don't believe there's not anything I can't change. It's a lot of hard work. I mean, the Constitution's been ratified, right? So if we can ratify the Constitution, not much less that we can't fix. Will it take hard work and effort? Yes. Are there things that we need to escalate to the state level or federal level? Absolutely. Can it be done? Yes, I think it can be. And I can be in for the long fight. Are there things that we could do now within our community? Absolutely. We do need to support our teachers. We do need to support the needs, the educational needs of our children. And, I think of every child, not children of special needs learning and then regular need learning children. I don't see a separation. A child is a child, and if they need certain support or certain needs, then they should get it, whatever that need is. It shouldn't be because of one category or classification or another. And if you have a teacher who's advocating strongly about a child who is lacking the support required for them to effectively learn, then we should be listening and doing what we can to support that.
Is there a better method, one way or another, of doing that? I mean, I'm just as an outside. I have kids in the school system, and so if I hear that some childs are struggling in one classroom and a teacher's reaching out, what is the appropriate method of addressing that? Is it communicating with the superintendent? I just don't know what the appropriate channels are, but how do you go about solving some of those issues as a school committee member? And I think the general public's curious about that because right now some of those issues don't seem to be solved. So how do you come in and effectively make change, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, and we got to look at what the authority of the school committee is, right? What does the school committee do? Affect policy, we hire and fire the superintendent, and then we approve the budget, right? So those are our three key factors. So what can we do within that realm to help facilitate the needs of the children? Well, one would be funding, right? Where is the budget? How is it being spent? And in determining or deciding the budget, looking at the recommendations from the teachers, from the schools, on what their priority needs are. And then looking at, historically, where have we been lacking, and are we able to fulfill those requests? Now, Chelmsford, unfortunately, was in the red a few years ago, so they were behind the power curve in the financial section of this, and they're finally getting themselves back in the black. So, I mean, when it comes to money, does anybody ever want more money? No one's going to ever turn away more money, but can we better manage the money that we have? Maybe. But, we had to come out of a hole first. So now that we're out of that hole and we're moving into what are we doing with those funds to help facilitate the support and needs of our children?
Well, one of it is, there's a couple of moving parts that happen, right? I mean, when you got special education costs, you got children that are going off to charter schools where you're losing, foundation money and things that happen. How do you better build a school system that people want to stay in? One of the issues that I've had as a parent is really more on a transparency level. The transparency is effectively there because somewhere buried on a website the information exists. But I think what's plaguing our generation more than anything now is almost an overabundance of information that exists without any sort of focus on what's most important, right? Because it's just now there's almost so much information that you can get buried in trying to find what you need. Is there any sort of focus there as far as trying to help parents, get maybe a clearer vision of what's important, moving forward?
I think that the school district, emphasizes their vision, their strategic goals. And you know, the school committee just approved their school goals for this year at the last board meeting. So, but making that forefront on the website and direct links so people, you know, flashing, here's our goals, this is what we want to achieve, and then how we plan on achieving those goals. But as far as over the amount of information, yes. How it's organized to allow parents to find what is relevant to immediate information needs, I think something we could definitely look at as far as how to get that information further out. Transparency, I think, is getting better from my understanding from what we had in the past. Can it improve? Absolutely. Communication, I think there's definitely room for improvement in communication. There's been situations that I have knowledge of where, in my opinion, communication should have been more clear to the parents, and it wasn't there. And you can still communicate to parents about things going on and affecting their children without breaking confidentiality. And I think we as parents, because I have children in the Chelmsford School District, we trust our educators and our administrators to take care of our children in that time frame that they're in their buildings. But if something changes, if something goes wrong, if there's a change or an effect on my child's routine or daily activities, I have a right to know as a parent. I don't need to know confidential information, but I have a right to know. So in that regards, I think the communication level is still lacking in the school district.
As far as social media goes, you know, every school committee member is a little bit different. One of my personal favorites is Barbara Scar. She's always very good about kind of finding information online. People are asking questions, getting answers, getting back to people. How do you see your, I guess, tenure as a school committee member if you should be elected? Are you a constituent type person, or are you more of a 30,000-foot policy maker? What's kind of what do you think you would be like as an actual school committee member?
So one of the main reasons beyond my children of why I thought why I'd be good is because I didn't feel like parents were being heard. So my campaign, I want to be that voice. I think parents have become disinterested because they don't feel like they're being heard, or they don't feel like they're being listened to if they get the opportunity to speak. So I want to be that voice for the parents. If I make school committee and I have people emailing me, calling me, Facebooking me about topics, issues, questions, concerns, yes, priority, answer, find information, guide them. If they can't attend the meeting themselves to speak, then I will speak on their behalf as their representative. We are elected by the town of Chelmsford, so we should be representing the parents, the people of Chelmsford when it comes to our schools.
Now, I know this is kind of a little bit off, but Chapter 70 obviously is something that I think residents in Chelmsford have talked about for a long time, and it plagues us. Do you see yourself at all advocating at the state level to try to help change that formula and maybe, you know, give Chelmsford a little bit more of the pie when it comes to funding?
Yes.
Would you be willing to go to the State House and knock on doors and try to
Yes.
help us out? Okay, good.
As we say in the Army, if I have to, I'll go stand on someone's desk to get it done.
Well, that's the one thing that I think is really interesting about your campaign is the fact that you have this military background, because I think it speaks volumes about your character, who you are. So, you know, is that something that you feel like you're going to bring to the board? Maybe a level of discipline that.
Not only discipline, I think, you know, and I've had some people comment that, you know, me being a veteran alone doesn't make me a qualified candidate. Well, yes and no. Yes, I'm a veteran, but I did more than my first 3-year contract. You know, I dedicated my life and I served till I could serve no more. And in doing so, you know, I made that commitment wholeheartedly. And then while being in the Army, I mastered my level of professionalism, I believe, a sense of decorum and common courtesy. I also mastered how to get multiple parties together to work together, to meet a common goal. Now, I don't have to like you personally, but I can work with you professionally. And I think that's something that needs to be facilitated a little bit more on our current school committee. everyone is not going to like everyone. It's just not human nature. But you have to be mature and professional enough to put those personal differences aside when it comes to working towards a common goal and work effectively to meet those goals. And I think a strong leader who's capable of managing multiple personalities, multiple skill sets, and to get those people together to work together, I think is important. And I don't have to know everything about everything. Why? Because we have experts surrounding us that know. There's a community who's an expert on special education and needs. There's a community expert on teachers and what they need. We have administrators. We have the townspeople when it comes to budget, money, and infrastructure. So I may not know all of it about everything, but I know how to reach those subject matter experts, bring together a cohesive team, and get the job done.
Talk a little bit, because you have a military police background, right? Talk a little bit about kind of current events right now, student safety. Obviously there's a lot going on in the world, and I even got an email today that they did lockdown drills in our schools for training in the event that there's active shooters or whatever there may be. So talk a little bit about that and your feeling on it, and maybe policies that would be geared towards it, I guess.
And I had this discussion the other day. The environment our children go to school today is not the same environment that I went to school today, or the same environment my parents went to school. So our realities are different. So we have to adjust what we do and what we have to ensure the safety of our children. In saying that, looking at from a force protection perspective, from someone in law enforcement, from a physical security perspective, I do believe there are modifications and upgrades we can do within the security structure of our schools to make them safer. I believe there's training that needs to be, that could be applied, and steps to go to help increase the security and safety of our children.
Yeah, it's just really sad because ultimately you have my daughter's, 7 years old, and she has to spend a whole day working on, a lockdown drill versus spending time on the educational side of things, which, certainly takes away from what we're trying to do. And
it's unfortunate, yes, absolutely. Is it a necessity of the lifetime we're in? Yes. It's just like during the Cold War, they used to have to do raid drills and hide underneath their desks in case of a nuclear bomb. It's just unfortunate but this is the world we live in. And if we don't bring that reality into the classroom in a safety sense, obviously at an appropriate level, depending on what age group you're talking to, because obviously you're not going to talk the same way you would to high schoolers as you are to kindergartners, right? It has to be age level appropriate. But it is a reality, and unfortunately that threat is there. And we have to be able to respond accordingly and effectively. Ignoring it is not the solution.
One of the things I think about is, how does Chelmsford become number one? How do we become the very best educational school system in the state? And have you thought about that? Are there ways that the Chelmsford public school system can improve so that we can be better than our neighboring communities, Westford and other people that seem to get kind of a higher ranking amongst schools in the area?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to go to my teachers and say, what do you need? What do you need to improve the educational environment for our children? What can we do to make the educational experience more effective? So that child who's not getting the concepts, or the group that is not, that it's just barely, what can we do? How do we improve that area? Because we need to look at all our population. And I think the teachers, as being the first contact, they're on the front line, they're in front of our children 8 hours a day, 180 days a year. They're going to know, what do we need? They know their students. What do the students need? And everybody learns different. If you look at now, when you fill out doctor forms, do they ask you what's the best way you learn? Reading, writing, hands-on, right? Even as adults. Well, we have to identify those same needs as children, and as teachers, we have to be able to modify our teaching technique to do that. So I think asking the teachers first and foremost, how do we make the learning environment most effective for every child is where we start. And then we move from there.
How important are PTOs, and have you had any experience with PTOs?
Well, as you may be aware, I am currently the co-treasurer for the Harrington PTO. I think they are fundamentally crucial, especially in a financial sector when it comes to the school. I recently learned just how much money the PTOs raise and spend in the school systems, in their own schools, to help enhance the educational experience for our children. At Harrington, you know, we've paid for field trips, or we've paid for authors to come into the schools to talk to groups, talk to students. We've paid for agencies to come into the school to do demonstrations, whatever the case might be. So we've also helped pay for other things that I feel sometimes maybe as a PTO we shouldn't be paying for. Like, why is the PTO being asked to buy safety equipment? You know, recently one school asked their PTO to buy Mylar blankets so that when the children, if the children have to exit the building in the winter months for an emergency, fire drill, whatever the case might be, the teachers could have something to help keep the children warm, because they are not allowed to grab their coats as they are walking by to exit the building. So Harrington alone had a fire alarm, and you know, it's 20 degrees outside. It's New England. It's winter. It's going to get cold. How do we protect our children? Because by fire code, they're not allowed to grab their coats. So why is the PTO being asked by the school to buy safety equipment? I think, in my opinion, that's something that should be part of the school budget. Now, you know, yes, PTO is a definite valuable asset. I was the PTO president for my son's school in Hawaii. I'm, like I said, co-treasurer for the Harrington PTO. I got active in it last year and took on the position at the end of last school year. So I do, you know, absolutely think that they are a valuable role. You
bring up a good point. At one time I heard that there were teachers, now not the newest mobile classrooms, but the portable classrooms prior to that would have to spend their own money on, you know, duct tape and things like this to just keep some of the classrooms functional. Obviously that's not right, but it's, you know, these are things that teachers are facing today. Is there ways you can help maybe solve some of that? Is that maybe being in good communication with teachers and administration?
I mean, the maintenance of the buildings, the structures themselves, that is on the town. It's not, that is, they're the town's buildings, so the town is supposed to facilitate the maintenance. It's supposed to be in their budget to make sure. Now, can we be working with the Board of Selectmen and the town manager to make sure that those things are getting properly attended to? Yes, I think we can.
Well, we have a couple minutes left. I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to be able to get a hold of you. Obviously, you've said a lot of things, so I'm sure people are interested in you, helping you on your campaign. Can you tell people how they can get more information about you and how to get in contact with you should they want to help you or get more information?
Absolutely. So I do have a Facebook page. It's Jamie Outland Brown for Chelmsford School Committee on the Facebook page. Come on over, take a look, hit the like and follow button. I'm constantly posting updated information, events, my points of views on certain issues, as well as asking for your issue, for your view, your concerns about what you see in the school district. I also have an email at jamiebrown4sc@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, ask me any questions, bring up any issues. I'm open. And last but not least, voting is April 3rd, and I ask for you to vote for Jamie Outland Brown for school committee.
Well, we appreciate that. We get 2 more minutes left. Just tell us a little bit about your kids and what grade they're in and
So I have 3. All of them were born in February. So,
oh, wow.
Yes, February is a very busy month. But now that February's over, I can focus on the campaign completely. My oldest was actually, my first was born on the 1st, and my second was born on the 25th, and my third was born on the 3rd. So it's always funny. But my son's at Harrington, absolutely loves it, loves Mr. Wertzler, amazing teacher this year for him. he's just flourishing, and which is amazing. Now, my daughter, my middle child, she is on an IEP, and she enrolled in CHIPS last April, and I cannot speak enough about how wonderful the CHIPS program has done, and the level of improvement and success I have seen in her. Miss Barry and her teachers and in her class have just done phenomenal things with my daughter, and in the year that she's, not even a year, it won't be a year till April that she's been with Miss Barry in that class, and her speech, and so I just think I'm grateful for that. And then I have my youngest, she's 2. She wants to go to school. She already has her backpack. She's already picked out her clothes. She follows. She's got her lunchbox. She packs her snack every day with her sister and her brother. She's ready to go. So she's just waiting to, make that age so she can start going to school herself. So.
I just love that. I was the youngest, so I was always looking up to my older
Yep,
brother and sister.
yep.
And
She mimics and she follows, and but she's Miss Independent. Don't let her fool you. 2 years old, but she wouldn't let me. She stopped letting me feed her at like 12 months. She's like, my spoon, my plate, I can do it myself. Very independent. So which all my children are. But I'm grateful for that.
Well, I think that's great. I think they should be proud of their mom. Hopefully, we'll see them on the campaign trail once or twice. And,
Maybe.
We wish you the best. Thank you for coming on.
Thank
and
you
we
for
will see
having
you
me.
soon.
Thank you.
Awesome.